In an era where political correctness often trumps truth, one leader stands firm in his convictions. Yogi Adityanath, the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. As India's political landscape grows increasingly complex, Yogi has emerged as a figure who refuses to back down, calling a spade a spade.
स्वतंत्र भारत में अब किसी औरंगजेब को पैदा मत होने दीजिए।
जो लोग दुनिया के अंदर अन्य मुद्दों पर बोलते हैं, मुखर होकर के बोलते हैं, उनको फिलिस्तीन दिखाई देता है, लेकिन बांग्लादेश नहीं दिखाई देता।
कटेंगे तो कटेंगे, एक रहेंगे तो नेक रहेंगे।
The 2024 Lok Sabha election was a watershed moment in Indian politics.
उत्तर प्रदेश से जो नंबर्स आ रहे हैं, वो सबसे बड़ी खबर अगर आज के इस रिजल्ट्स की है तो वो ये है कि बीजेपी को अपने दम पर बहुमत नहीं मिला है।
The division of Hindu votes along caste lines played into the hands of the opposition. The BJP, though victorious, is being compelled time and again to roll back its path-breaking reform laws. Meanwhile, Rahul Gandhi's relentless focus on caste politics continues to polarize the nation.
जो बजट का जो हलवा है सर, ये बट रहा है, और इस फोटो में सर मुझे एक ओबीसी अफसर नहीं दिख रहा, एक आदिवासी अफसर नहीं दिख रहा, एक दलित अफसर नहीं दिख रहा मुझे। ये हो क्या रहा है सर? सर देश का हलवा बट रहा है सर, और इसमें 73% का एक है ही नहीं। सर ये आप लोग हलवा खा रहे हो और बाकी देश को हलवा मिल ही नहीं रहा है।
Hindus in India face a unique dilemma. On the one hand, there's the unity needed to withstand external threats. On the other, internal divisions weaken this resolve. From caste politics to the murders of Hindus by extremist Muslims, the community, despite being the majority, finds itself increasingly vulnerable. Yogi Adityanath understands this and acts.
औरंगजेब को अपना आदर्श मानने वाले जितने बड़े बड़े माफिया थे, इन माफिया को हमने एकदम ठीक करने का काम किया है, और हमारा संकल्प था कि उत्तर प्रदेश को माफिया मुक्त करके इनको मिट्टी में मिलाने का काम करेंगे। बहनों और भाइयों, आज आप देखते होंगे उत्तर प्रदेश में कोई माफिया नहीं बचा है।
Gandhi's insistence on a caste census is a calculated move to fragment Hindu society further. By focusing on caste-based reservations, he caters to a constituency that wouldn't pay heed to reason because that would come in the way of their entitlement. That the quotas haven't helped uplift the have-nots and that the Congress never really cared for the underprivileged are cold facts that are less exciting than the promise that one can get a job just because one comes from a certain section of the Hindu demography.
जुलाई में 1 तारीख सुबह हिंदुस्तान के करोड़ों गरीब लोग अपना बैंक अकाउंट देखेंगे और जादू से 8,500 रुपए उस महीने के अंदर महिलाओं के बैंक अकाउंट में, भाई और बहनों, जुलाई में देखेंगे 8,500 रुपए, अगस्त में 8,500, सितंबर, अक्टूबर, नवंबर, दिसंबर, खटाखट 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 8,500।
While the BJP is the only party that represents Hindu interests, if only for electoral dividends, its leadership has faced criticism for misreading the Hindu mandate. From RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat's comment that the Hindus and Muslims of India share a common DNA strain to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's outreach to the so-called lower castes of a religion that claims it does not have a caste system, many Hindus feel betrayed by the party they trusted to protect their interests. In a political climate where leaders often bow to pressure, Yogi Adityanath stands as a symbol of defiance. When the Supreme Court questioned his administration's actions during the violent anti-CAA protests, Yogi responded not with retreat, but with resolve, turning the bulldozer into a symbol of his administration's determination.
संतों पर अत्याचार हो रहा है और इसीलिए हम सबको वर्तमान की चुनौतियों को देखना पड़ेगा, याद करना 1947 के पहले बांग्लादेश भी भारत का हिस्सा था।
History is replete with examples of communities that fell when they allowed themselves to be divided. From the Catholics of Lebanon to the secularists of post-Second World War France to the Protestants of post-imperial England, the division has always led to a nation's downfall. Yogi Adityanath recognizes this and stresses the importance of Hindu unity as the bulwark against a similar fate for India.
I come from Lebanon. I was born and raised in Lebanon, which used to be the only majority Christian country in the Middle East. We were open-minded, we were fair, we were tolerant, we were multicultural. We prided ourselves in our multiculturalism. We had open border policy. We welcomed everyone to come to our country because we wanted to share with them the westernization which we had created in the heart of the Arabic world. Muslims used to send their children to study in our universities because we had built the best universities in the Arabic world. They graduated and worked in our economy because we had built the best economy in the Middle East, even though we did not have any oil. Beirut became Paris of the Middle East, the banking capital of the Middle East. In 1965, National Geographic magazine had on its front cover, Lebanon, Eden of the Middle East. Unfortunately, all this began to change as the years went by. See, we got our independence in the early 40s. But by the 60s and 70s, the Christians had become the minority and the Muslims had become the majority in Lebanon. And as the Islamic population grew in the country became less and less tolerant because they started pushing for more rights that were not compatible with our Judeo-Christian value system that we had created. And that's when the problems started. The problem was contained until the influx of the Palestinians out of Jordan in 1970, when Lebanon brought them in because we already had refugee camps. Actually, at that time, Lebanon was the only country in the Middle East to accept the third wave of Palestinians into Lebanon. The majority of them were Muslims. They put their heads together with the Muslims in Lebanon and declared jihad on the Christians. What they wanted to do is create a base from which to fight Israel, kill the Jews, and throw them into the sea. Something they tried to do in Jordan. Yasser Arafat and the Palestinians tried to do in Jordan, but they failed because of the dictatorship of the king. Yet they were able to come to Lebanon, use our open-mindedness, our fairness, our tolerance, our multiculturalism, and our democracy to topple our democracy.
In these globally turbulent times, India needs a leader who is unafraid to speak the truth and act decisively. Yogi embodies that leadership, honest, candid, and unwavering in his commitment to Hindu unity and the protection of India's heritage. You may disagree with his politics, but in a democracy, there should be at least one leader who becomes the voice of those who are braving an existential crisis.